Hey everybody, it's Sean. We're going to get started here in about 3 minutes. Good morning, everybody. We're going to give just about another minute, and then I'm going to get started on the exploring the power of AI for small businesses. Hope everyone's having a good morning, enjoying for those here in Oklahoma, hoping you're enjoying the weather. It's really nice outside. All right, while we're waiting for folks, I'll just thanks for everyone joining us today. This is going to be a slightly different webinar in that I've got some slides we're going to go through, different discussion points. Jim Mattingly's on here today. He's going to be managing all of the questions. Feel free that during the course of the presentation, if you have questions that you want me to answer, we're going to batch them all and I'll kind of answer them at the end in a Q&A session, because we want to make part of it interactive, just to go through. We're going to see how this stuff, AI works. We'll see some interesting pieces to some of that. So we will get going on that. So I think everyone looking at the current list looks like everyone knows who I am. So I'm not going to do a big intro of who Sean is or what NSN does. But we'll get going on that. And so really the whole point of this AI webinar is really to introduce what it is. And so we'll look at our agenda. Is one of the things we're going to do is I'm going to talk about what we're not going to cover, because there's quite a bit as it relates to AI. There's lots of things that it is and isn't. We're going to talk about what exactly is AI. as we get going, we'll talk about some of how it gets used. But we're also going to look about how it learns. That's one of the important pieces about AI is how does it learn? Where does it get its information from? How long ago that information is. And every AI model is a little different, so we'll talk about those. And then I'm going to focus on 3 areas of business. We're going to start in customer service, largely because that's what NSN's in the job of. Our whole focus is on customer service and how we do that, how AI helps us and how it can help other businesses and using that. We'll also talk about marketing and how AI helps marketing world, what it can use and how it works and doesn't work, and then even operational side of some of those. And then we're going to do a demo where I'm going to spend most of the time really is on the demo of showing different pieces of each one of those elements and how AI has been helpful to NSN and how I think even in those that are customers or just partners of ours could use AI, and then open it up for questions and everything. So as we get going, so what are we not going to cover? So we're not going to cover the ethics of AI because that's a whole other ball game and outside my expertise. We're not going to talk about the legal implications of using AI. I'll mention it in different pieces, and we're not talking about Terminator or Skynet or end of world type scenarios. AI has a lot of promises. Obviously, I think last week or earlier, one of the gentlemen that founded Chat GPT, which is one of the AI models we're going to talk about, was actually at Congress testifying about it. They're talking about regulations and all this other stuff. We're not going to talk about any of that. We're primarily just going to talk about what can AI do, how you can use it in business, and some of those benefits, and leave that to the folks that are way smarter than I am. So what exactly is artificial intelligence? So first off, AI is created. It's created by very smart programmers that create a human-like cognitive ability through learning, machine learning. They write algorithms, different tools to try to learn all of this information. And it aims to try to simulate, like we say on the slide, human-like abilities, reasoning, learning, problem solving, decision making, creative side as well. You'll see examples of people, they can write a song, write a story, write articles. I mean, it's incredible what you can do. One of the interesting things about AI, though, is you have to be able to talk to it. And some people can use, we've all been exposed to one element of AI before by using, whether it's Siri or Amazon's AI. I can't say it. We call it Alessandro because if I say it, the one behind me is going to answer. Or even Apple's Siri or Google's Voice, any of those things that go and answer for us and do some good jobs and some not. But it understands those natural language patterns, recognizes them, and then adapts as it goes. And we'll see some of that a little bit. It's also a subset of, like I said, machine learning and learning, and it relearns and it relearns and processing huge amounts of data to do that. So let's talk about how it learns. So these are the different steps that you're going to see. So the very first thing it has to collect data. So all these AI systems requires a large amount of data to learn from. Relevant, diverse data sets are collected. It could include text, images, audio, or other forms of structured or unstructured data that it gets. And that data has to be fed to the AI learning model. Part of that is this data pre-processing that happens. So before we feed the data into the learning algorithms, it has to be cleaned. So there's people that have to clean it, and I'm sure they write an AI to help clean it. To be cleaned, it has to be organized and transformed into a suitable format for analysis. This is stuff like removing noise from it, handling any missing values, and even normalizing the data. Normalizing is just categorizing it, sorting it, and putting in appropriate spaces for it. So those are things that the data pre-processing has to happen in that element. The next phase is really where a lot of the first work gets done is the training. The AI model has to be trained using all this pre-processed data. During the training, the model analyzes all the data, identifies the patterns, and adjusts its internal parameters to optimize its performance. So there's various machine learning techniques such as supervised learning, unsupervised, or reinforced learning, all are employed based on the nature of the problem and the available data that they use. Next element they go into is evaluation and validation. So once the model's been trained, it still has to be evaluated and validated. So this involves testing the model's performance on new unseen data to assess its accuracy. I was playing with another chat AI earlier today, and just in conversations, and because you can actually have conversations with it, and it was completely wrong. It assumed all kinds of things. Like I said, it asked, "What's your name?" and I said, "Bob," and then it comes back and says, it asked me what my girlfriend was. I have no idea why, and I said, "You," just see how it responds, and it comes back and I can't. You're a girl. Your name's Jessica. No, I typed in Bob. So obviously that AI model has got some work that needs to be done to it. So that's part of that evaluation and validation that has to happen. Is so checks its accuracy, its precision, recall, and other relevant metrics, and then there's various cross validation techniques that get used to ensure the robustness of it. So once it's gone through that portion, then you get this iterative refinement where, based on the results, they may look at it and go, you know what, we need more refinement of the data and more refinement of the training. So adjustments to the model's architecture may be in place, maybe the parameters, the training process may be added to improve its performance or to address any shortcomings that it's coming up with. And once it's got through all that process, and there are people involved in all of those steps, the deployment and the inference has to happen. So once it's been trained and validated, it can be deployed for real world applications. There's all kinds, and we're going to talk about some of those different applications. How does it take new input data, process it, and provide predictions, recommendations, or decisions based on what it's learned? And then AI systems can be designed to keep learning and improving over time. As new data happens, we're going to talk specifically today a lot about what's called Chat GPT or from OpenAI and some of their limitations that they put in place for their learning, but how far back do they get to data? Like it doesn't do real-time data. It uses older data to do some of that analysis. So, and the idea is that it can adapt to those changing conditions and further enhance its performance in that continuous learning. So AI has been around for a while. It's just becoming more prevalent because I think largely what we started seeing with this OpenAI, which we'll look at here per demo phase, is some of the things that you can really make it do, which is pretty incredible. So the first one that I want to talk about is just enhancing customer service. And I'm going to go through these next 3 slides kind of quick, just because I want to really get into the demo and really kind of show what you can make it do. One of them, we probably all interacted to one degree or another, chat bots and virtual assistants. You go to a web page, like you're looking for a car, you look at a dealer, it'll pop up a little thing in the corner and it'll be like, oh, hey, so-and-so's here. It's like, dude, it's 2 a.m. It's like, you're not there. And you ask it questions and it answers. And some of them are really good and some of them are really bad. And you can tell that it's very canned. Some of them, doing natural language processing, are pretty impressive, where you can actually talk and interact with them, and it actually generates responses that are helpful. Not all of them do that, some do. One of my favorites is this generating email responses, which I'll showcase in the demo, is how a lot of the responses and stuff that we've added and changed in our system and stuff came from AI generation, how we had it rewrite them for us. And in predictive analytics, when you're looking at, okay, if we do these kinds of efforts, what's going to end up happening, and looking at patterns, helping with staffing patterns, in a big call center when they have, hundreds and thousands of phone calls a day, when's the right time, based off of the information. They got so many tickets on Outlook, and they always seem to get those around 2:30. making stuff up, but it goes through and can analyze that, and you can make sure you have the right appropriate staff for those times. Social media, this is really from a marketing standpoint. Social media is just one of the easy ways to discuss it, is looking at how do you do marketing with AI. In a small business, it's not often that you have a full-time dedicated marketing person and you're trying to figure out, how do I get this stuff done? I know, like in my case, I have lots of ideas, and I can try to put them down, but oftentimes what happens is you just get stuck. One of the worst things that happens to me is I open up Word and I look at it and I go, great, I need to write an article about artificial intelligence. And I write a title and I stop, and it takes hours, days to do that. Well, you're going to see some creative ways that artificial intelligence helps with that, whether it's automating some of the content creation process, whether it's automatically scheduling the post based on what's the best time to actually post the content, writing own articles, or even generating ad creative content. When I say creative, it's like the images and stuff that you'll see done through AI. So the next one is even operational efficiency. When you start looking at processes and stuff that can happen inside of AI, automating repetitive tasks. One of the ways we get to use it is in script processing, writing knowledge base articles, maybe even rewriting a knowledge base article. You've written it and you need to look, this needs to be written better. And you go through and do that. And even creating checklists, process checklists. So one of the interesting things is you can have a lot of this information already, and you may have it in some rough format. You're like, I really need to make this better. I need to format it better. I need to have it look better. I need it to sound better. I didn't really like how I wrote that. And paste that in and redo it. One of the key things that you're going to see here as we jump into a demo is really the key thing is you still have to know what you're talking about to one degree or another. And I'll show you some of the faux pas that AI has done. It was really funny whenever I asked it to write a piece about NSN Management. It thought NSN stood for Network Security and Network Management instead of my three kids, which the company's named after, Natalie, Sean Thomas, and Nicole. But it wrote this really great piece. I was like, wow, that's awesome. Other than you completely made it all up, which is, it happens. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump into demonstration. I'm going to walk through a lot of different things. But one of the things that I want to start with, and this is kind of the kicker, is every single slide that you've seen today, every single word on the screen you've seen today, every single email that you received about this webinar was all generated by AI. And I did that on purpose. I wanted to see what it did, how it created it. The slides you see are actually generated by AI. So what I'm gonna first, that's where I'm gonna go back through some of these slides real quick. Go back to the agenda. So this was all created in PowerPoint, but one of the interesting things is PowerPoint now has a little design option, and I just typed, actually I just cut and paste what the agenda was going to be from AI, and I added some elements like, hey, I said I wanted a slide that's going to say what we won't cover, and it generated all of these images for me. I didn't do that. We'd still be trying to get the presentation done. I did cut and paste in the picture of the Terminator. That was one for me. But here, I mean, it generated this slide. It picked all of these images to use based on just the words. I didn't go pick a single image in that. It did it on its own. The fact that it knew, oh, data collection, it's this, data processing, training. Here, let's do the training icon, evaluation, something that's iterative. All that through PowerPoint, its own AI. Here's customer service. The fact that I just typed in generate email responses and it knew to generate an icon like this. Or natural language processing, okay, chatbots and virtual assistants, content, create scheduling, write an article, all of it did on its own without me just going through and saying, yeah, I like that one. Go ahead and do that. So let's jump in to some of this. So I'm going to exit out of the slide here, and I'm just going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you that in the PowerPoint piece in here. And you can see here, I'll just pick this one, and here's this designer. And it's going to generate its own design ideas. And it's got all kinds of different ones, whether you want it like this, how do you want these different elements done? Where I thought the most interesting piece was when it picked the icons. I mean, these are just, PowerPoint's been doing something similar to this for quite some time, but the fact that they figured out how to do recognize the words and generate icons and elements to it to make a PowerPoint presentation look a lot better than if I would have done it. It would have looked a lot like this first screen. It's how I did it. But you can see it goes through and it can even generate some of those for you. So even here, when I just typed in Q&A session, it picked this icon, element and everything for it without any interaction from me other than saying that's what I wanted to use. So, right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over actually to this first one, this Chat GPT. It's just chat.openai.com. And they added this, I'm assuming the last day or so, they added the new GPT-4, which it's faster. I mean, it's not faster, sorry, more capable. It's actually slower. And I actually pay, so that's why you get a plus here. I pay $20 a month for the ability to use this because it is faster and I get instant availability for it. So I'm going to walk through what I did to generate the emails and everything. So right here, you can see this Chat GPT webinar invite. And I'm going to come up here to the top, and here's what I said. I told it, write an email to send to customers and prospects, inviting them to our webinar on May 18th at 11 a.m. on Chat GPT for Business. That's all I wrote. And this is what it kicked out. Right. Now, this isn't the end result one I think you got because I made some changes. I didn't want to necessarily say Chat GPT. And then, so it wrote all of this element, and it still left stuff for me to do. I had to insert the registration link, any contact details, and I think I reread it and reworded it some degree. And then I said, oh, hey, I need you to write a follow-up email to remind people to register. So some of you may have got this one. That says, hey, we want a quick reminder to do that. And again, I had to make some different changes to different P's to have people register and stuff. So that was one of the ones that it generated for me. Okay. Then here's more. I'll go back up to the top because I ran a webinar ad that showed up on social media and I think Instagram, Facebook, some other stuff. And I said, okay, write a short description for a AI webinar ad. And it did. So great. Now, when you see this next part, I'm going to say shorten this to less than 200 words. Well, then it wrote a much longer one because actually what I really wanted to say was, I kept saying shorter, no, write a short description. Oh, wait, I had it wrong. I needed to write it to make it less than 200 characters. So I was having a conversation back and forth about this. And the reason why I needed it to be 200 characters is because I used addcreative.ai to actually create the ad itself. So I put in my information on so let's just say edit this one here. I put in this words, here this, and then save and rendered it. I put in my logo here and what our fonts are, the colors that we like, and it generated this ad for me. And I got to pick which one I wanted in this case. I figure which one I picked. I think it was that one right there. And we say download it. Now, the way that Ad Creative works is you get 100 elements a month or something. And so when I download one, okay, that counts against, what my package is. But you can have it go through and create any number of, so here I'm going to do an ad creative. Let's do a post size. This one, great. So we'll save and continue. What's the project description? And so I'm going to come back over here. We're going to start a new chat. And I'm going to tell it generate, or actually it'll say write a description for an ad for a new shoe line we are launching. And so it's going to write quite a bit of copy. And I'm going to say shorten to just a headline. Okay, so I'm going to take this, copy this one. I'm going to go put it over here. Get rid of the quotes, and then it's going to tell me what's your target audience. And I can say people who like nice shoes. Okay. And then you can put your main headline there, whatever your punchline, if you have one, save and continue. Oh, punchline. Here, we'll go ask. Write a punchline for this ad less than 40 characters. Okay, so it does. Get back over to that screen and save and continue. Now I could upload images if I want. I don't necessarily have any, so we're just going to create a post. Oh, makes me do it. Well, we'll just look for shoes. And we'll use that one. All right, so create a post. As it goes off and generates this, it's going to get all this done. So it's reading the data, best practices are being done. We're going to let that run. It should be done here in just a second. Let's see. So it uses some information from us and that we have our particular colors from NSN Management, but it goes off and generates an ad that I could stick into social media or whatever, and tells you its conversion score, what it thinks it would do well. And I'm sure there's more you could do to play with it to make it look better, do whatever you want. And there's other ones out there. This is just one that we grabbed to take a look at. So from a that process, it's just, okay, so it generates, let's go back to this webinar. So then as I was creating the content for it, I don't know, so here's write a webinar description, right? How can chat help me schedule appointments? And it talks about that. So I was looking for content. How do I create a chat bot? Which is great. It's like, okay, great. Gives you some pretty decent information, but like, okay, great. Okay, write code to create a chat GPT using the OpenAI for booking an appointment. So it does. Here's an example, and it writes the code for me. I'm sure to do some other work on it. Tells me about it. I said, okay, well, now write the content for use in a PowerPoint for the AI webinar. Only create enough content for 30 minutes and include an intro slide for Sean Fullerton and for NSN Management. So it does. Goes through, and this is where I had to do some editing and look at it. So welcome to the webinar, great. Meet our esteemed speaker. I mean, I'm nice that it thinks I'm esteemed. I'm not an AI expert, and I surely don't have over a decade of experience in the field of artificial intelligence. But it was, so you have to kind of, okay, so it's making some stuff up. And then, hey, we're a leading consulting firm specializing in IT AI solutions. Well, I don't necessarily know that we're specialty a consulting firm. So again, it has some great possibilities. You still have to kind of look at the data and reread it. So then it goes through, here's the agenda. And you can see I made some changes to this, but here's a lot of the text. All the titles, I didn't use the actual text of this the deal because I didn't want just a bunch of slides. I said, okay, now I want you to also include speaker notes for this. And so it says, okay, great. So it does. Creates that, and it says, ooh, here, begin the webinar by introducing the topic, set the tone. All right. And then here's this piece, introducing NSN. So it continued to add all of these speaker notes that I could have added to my PowerPoint presentation so that as I'm delivering this, it does it. So we go through, great. All right, now write a short description for what AI is. Its description's a little longer than I wanted. All right, I said, write a bullet point slide to describe AI. And a lot of those words you saw came from here. And then I said, great, how does AI learn? And so if you thought I knew all that stuff, nope, I just knew how to read. So I went through and found, this and did some other research, but yeah, to make sure it was all right. And this is how it learns. And it was all AI generated. And then I got stuck because what I said is, what are we not going to talk about for a title? It's like, well, I said, so what's a different way of saying that? And it goes, exclusions from the discussion. Well, okay, that's a little formal. Let's shorten that. So I said less formal. I said topics we don't cover. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I probably could have kept going. I said, now write bullet points for what AI is. So it does. It wrote all that for me. What are some examples? The AI enhances customer service. You saw all these, right? Here's automating content creation. What does it do? Automating writing, email, streamline. What does the algorithm look like? Now, this is where I started to get it, and I found that it kind of fell apart. Is it kind of tells you what it does. I said, okay, show me the code for what this algorithm would look like. And it wrote a very simple code to do that. Now, again, you don't have to use any asking it for code is obviously just something us in the IT world would do, but I'll show you some other things here in a second about what it can do in some of the business size. So I said, now how current is this data used to train? And so it comes back and it says licensed data, data created by human trainers, publicly available data, and it doesn't have direct access information databases or real-time data. So it's data that's been fed. This is all data that's been trained on as of its last training in September of 2021. So you can't ask it for something that happened yesterday, not get anything accurate, right? So that's just, I wanted to show you real quickly how, here, I created a webinar, I had the idea for a webinar, and let it create the content so we can see what it does. Now I'm going to walk through a number of ones that we have used over the last couple of months about this and how to use some of this information. So I wanted to know on our sales ticket side of our world, what are good statuses for a ticket system to track efforts in sales? So it generated those. And all right, create a process document for the following. And I said, okay, so I had to here's some of the ones that we use. And I said, okay, create a process document for that. And here it does. It wrote a document that I can put into our knowledge base system. So anyone that's creating a ticket around our sales process has that information. This is what we're supposed to use and what we're supposed to say it. His responsibility, how it gets communicated. What I have found in this process is that it's really good for giving you a starting point. You can continue to reiterate and retype, make it clearer, make it shorter, add this, add some other element, and it will do that. And so what I'm going to drop down to one, see if I can still find it. Oh, here's one that we had fun with. Close for Christmas. Okay. Now, for those that don't know, we're pretty strong conservative Christians over here in NSN, most of us. And so we said, hey, we want to create an auto reply message when our office is closed for Christmas with a Christian emphasis. So it wrote it. And I read that and went, wow, that's pretty close to what I would have had to say. Might have tweaked some of it. I said, okay, what about for Easter? Thanks for contacting us. Office will be closed from Good Friday through Easter Monday. Resurrection of Jesus Christ with their families and loved ones. I was like, wow. I mean, it nailed it. We even played with letting it write a Bible study one time. It was close. It got really interesting, but at different times. But you could go through and even stuff like if I wanted to write an article to say how to stop Microsoft Edge from doing autocomplete, and it told us how to do it. So for our team, a lot of times we know how to do something, but we're like, okay, I want to type this myself. I need to save some time. We can cut and paste, okay, and do that. Then come through and even writing, I needed a device disposal policy, right? Write device disposal policy, and it writes it. And then I go through, okay, create a ticket template for recording IT asset disposal to include asset tag and date of disposal, and it writes it, right? Write a resolution note to let someone know that it's been properly disposed of, right? And it goes through and does it. And it writes relatively well. And which one's this one? Yeah. Oh, so this is one I was at a network meeting, and someone was asking about single office, home office type security solutions. Well, I knew what I needed to say, but the fact of, okay, I got to write this down. And I was like, wait, I know what I need. And so I said, okay, write a recommendation for a single user Office IT platform that includes the next generation firewall for network, modern EDR for endpoint devices, and an active patch management for Windows devices. And so it did. It wrote it, and I was, hey, this is pretty good. And that was just in an email. And I said, okay, write a description for cyber protection architecture. I didn't even spell architecture right. And it does. And it writes it. And then I said, okay, add a layer for backup of Office 365, as well as a recommendation for using Office 365 as a business class email solution. So it does. It adds those elements. Now I said, put all of this into a single article with headings. And it wrote it, the whole thing. I said, rewrite with a non-technical voice. Okay, so it does. It rewrites it from a non-technical. Now this one, it decided for some reason to pull it in the to numbered points. I'm not sure why. And I said, okay, expand a bit, ensure it adds more to it. All right, I said on step 5, which is about Office 365, add why not to use Gmail or Yahoo for business email. So it rewrites step 5. And then I took the article and I said, okay, add headings to the following. And then here's all the different headings that it writes. And I cut and paste all that in, and here's a version with headings. So here's the whole shebang. Add that we can provide these services. Now, this is where you'll see sometimes in ChatGPT, it comes back and says, hey, we're not affiliated with any particular company. You'll notice canned language. Okay, and then so it comes back and I said, okay, still same thing, but add that my company can exist. It does, so it adds that, okay? Now, if you went to our blog recently and saw that article that ended up is on the blog now. This took me 10, 15 minutes to do, and it would actually will be beneficial to some. We don't do that a lot for companies, but it was something that I knew that we needed to be able to say. And I'm like, this would have taken me hours to write. Now I can review this. It still has to be my voice, still have to look at it and go, okay, yeah, is that right? Is that really what we would say? Yes, I might change elements of it like I did on the article. I changed some of it to make sure that it was accurate. But the fact that it could do all this for me makes it so much easier, right, for it. Other portions of is like, okay, I need write instructions on how to export Outlook contacts and calendar to Google. So it does. It writes that for us. And then I can send that to a customer and help them. You can even come in here and ask it for information about Excel. Hey, I need to create an Excel formula that does copies data from column A, puts it in column C, adds up what's D and E, and then divides it by C, and it would tell you what that formula was. So, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of open up to questions because there's a lot that can be done. If you have an idea and you want to see what it looks like, let me know, and I'll be sure and type it in there. But AI has an enormous amount of potential to help businesses get started on the idea that they may have. You may have a element where I've got this idea, it's going to take me hours. I don't have a person. Like we don't have a full-time marketing person and I need something done for marketing and I've got the idea for it and it goes off and does it for me and writes those pieces. And that's probably one of the things that's the most interesting about it, of what all you can do, how you can do it, shorten the timeline that it takes to get from A to Z in writing an email. I need an email that goes and talks to says this to someone, and I want it short. I need to write that, but I need to write it now, and the way I'm trying to say it's just not working. And you can even tell it rewrite stuff, and it'll rewrite it for you. So anyway, I hope you found some of this useful. Like I said, I want to open it up for questions. If you have any, just feel free to top them in the chat. We'll go from there.
Hey, Sean, can you switch over to Q&A tab?
Yep, got it. Oh, okay. Yeah, as Rob, I think I answered that. You saw kind of how I generated the PowerPoint using the AI. As you jump in, it's the designer, really. If I were to do a new slide here, I give it the title, demo power of AI in SMB, and then come here, give it some other text. Right. And then I come to the designer over here and you'll see it generate those. And in some of them, if I don't like what it did, you just come back, show me more design ideas. It'll come up with different slides that you may or may not like, may not, and if you do, off you go. Jamie asked, is the site Chat GPT OpenAI or a different one? It is the OpenAI one. So if you go here to the website, like I'll start over. It's just chat.openai.com. And I logged in. So here, let me log out real quick. So it would something like this. You could sign up for an account. There's two different kinds of accounts. There is a free one, or the pay one for 20. That's $20 a month. We use the $20 a month one because I want one a little faster for it. So, and then Jim just posted in the link to it. Any other questions or anything? What I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to open up I'm going to unmute folks. So if you want to actually talk instead of.
Jim Henderson did put over in the chat that he would like the link for the recording when you're done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will make sure that is available. Trying to figure out how to. Need to go ask Chat GPT how to unmute everybody all at once. If you have a question, you just want to talk, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask, and we'll go from there. So, or it's like a lot of the webinars I'm on, no one asks questions. Okay. So yeah, so you'll see. So it looks like I don't have any other questions. What we're going to do is I will make sure the recording goes out, and for everyone, you'll see it's just really impressive of what you can do with it. The key thing that I will tell you is that you still have to ask the right questions. Back in the day when we were in IT, when Google first came out, a lot of people were really wondering, how do you get it? Not getting the same answers that someone else gets. And it did come down to, how did you ask the question? Did it generate what you wanted? Now ChatGPT or AI is the same one, is doing the same kind of thing of, how do you ask the question? How do you tell it what to do? The thing that I would tell you is, be conversational in your writing, of what you want. I want a description for a new food line that features wings and tacos. And so you can generate a whole business idea. Of this one obviously wants slow cooked pork or vibrant flavors of marinated shrimp. And I think from an individual small business, trying to come up with some of this content is tough. Writing articles is tough. Takes a lot of effort. Will it solve all the problems today? No. Are there other uses for it outside of this? Absolutely. There's lots of people have also said, oh, it's going to get rid of workers. No, I think it's going to help people be more efficient. At least I know for our team it does.
So Jim asked a couple of questions over on the chat instead of the Q&A.
Oh, okay. What do we got there? Yeah, Matt, Jim's beard is definitely real. It's not AI. It's a little shorter than that now, so which is good. So anyway, other advertising AIs. I haven't looked at any others, Jim, than that one that I demoed. I just did a cursory search of other advertising AIs. There's a variety of them. Those seem to require a little bit more creative effort than others did. I just used that one, and it gave me enough, to generate. But there's even more. There's some out there that actually can generate images from what you tell it. Draw me a picture of a pirate. I think I saw an example picture of a pirate on a ship, and it drew that picture. Oh, I want him to have a red hat. Okay, makes it with a red hat. So I know some of the artists and stuff are a little concerned about creative content and how AIs learn. Is it going to learn appropriately? Do you want it to, here's your copyright material. Do you want your copyright material to be used to learn AI? I don't know. I think that's a valid question. Whether it's one we actually, I'm sure it'll get debated for years to come. So. All right, well, looks like that's all the questions. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Next month, I'll just give you a teaser. We're going to do one on dashboards and the power of KPIs, key performance indicators, and how they get used in business. We're going to look at both Excel, Power dashboards, and even using Power BI and some of the other platforms that are available to small businesses. So thank you all for attending, and feel free, if you have any other questions, you can always just shoot me an email. Everyone here has my email address. If you don't, it's just Sean.Fullerton. I'll drop it in the chat real quick. Feel free to shoot me an email, and I will do the best I can. And I'm sure I will feed it into AI to give you a good answer. So, no, thanks a lot, and you all have a great day.